So today I'd like to talk about training, particularly that in the workplace. For those who've watched my earlier videos, you'll know this is what got me into HR in the first place, because I had a really strong desire to make sure that people learned properly while they were on the job. And if you get your training right, it can be absolutely fantastic, because it's a great investment in the people in your workforce, but also means they'll hopefully do things in the way that you want them to do them, and will become really valuable to your company and where you want it to go now and in the future. But I just want to take a moment to question how we train people. So historically, a lot of training was done in the classroom. Even if you're in a workplace, you stand up with a trainer and a room full of delegates. But just take a moment to consider exactly what the impact of that might be, and whether that's really the best way for people to learn. Now, for some it might be, but you also have to remember that how many training courses have you been on where you've had to spend a day out the office, you've gone on a training course with other delegates, you might have found it really useful, but what have you done with your notes? You've chucked them in the bottom of the drawer and you've forgotten about them. And you might never need to use them, or you might not use them for months because what you've been trained on might not be immediately relevant to what you're doing in your day job. So let's think about it. As human beings, how do we normally learn, or what do we need to learn? So quite often it could be sitting with another colleague, or being talked through something for the first time, or shadowing somebody more experienced the first time you have to do something difficult. It could just be asking a friend, or it could be doing your own research, because usually outside of the workplace, if we want to know the answer to something, we'll Google it, or we'll ask somebody we trust. So I think the point I'm making here is it's not perhaps time to throw out classroom-based learning altogether, because there's definitely some validity in doing it, but consider what works best for the different personalities in your workplace and try and get them to do some of the learning themselves rather than the traditional chalk and talk methods. So quite often, if people feel they are part of the learning experience themselves, or they're coming up with the solutions themselves, they might be more likely to remember it and to partake. And I know this is a difficult one because we all learn in different ways. For example, I'm what's called a kinesthetic learner. I learn far more through doing than I would if I was sat in a classroom all day learning theory. And for me, with a logical brain, I like to understand why something happens and where it all fits into a bigger process. But you've also got more creative types than me out there who would like the blank sheet of paper and would love to brainstorm ideas. So there's all sorts of different things to cater for. So I think what I'm saying here is, when you're planning your workforce training and development, just think about the different types of people and how they learn best. Again, I've been training people throughout my career. I've designed and delivered all sorts of training sessions, which I've done as either one-to-one coaching or in small groups, which have gone down really well, all around how to manage people. But do get in touch if you've got any questions about this subject, because I think it's one that's worth talking about further.